Hey guys, Parfax here, and today's video is all about gemming your gear. All right, let's get started. So we're here in New World, and we want to talk today about putting gems in your gear. Now, I just got to 60 on this character, and I wanted to start putting gems in my gear. This is something that I didn't do before that makes a massive difference. Now, I've already started putting some gems in my gear, but I thought, well, I should probably bring a video to all the new players to let them really know what gems you should be putting in your gear. Now, there's a couple things to kind of consider before we really talk about which gems we're going to put in our gear, and that is mainly what you're going to be doing. So on this character, we just hit 60, so mainly we're just going to be PvEing. We're going to be getting our gypsums a day, we're going to be doing dungeons, we're going to do a little bit of maybe PvP, but honestly, we're not going to be doing that much, so I'm not going to gem my gear based around PvP. We did a little bit, but honestly, it's more because it was a little bit cheaper to do it that way. So the things you want to consider as PvP or PvE, and because we're doing strictly PvE and not mutators, what you're going to want to build for is physical defense. Now, when you look at your gear, one thing you always want to make sure you look down here is the gear score, and you can see here specifically the elemental and physical stats down here. This is something that a lot of players don't know or don't really ever look at, but this is going to give you your breakdown on your armor. Now, you can see this number down here. Honestly, the number itself doesn't mean a ton. The big thing we're looking at here is the distribution. Now, there's not a ton of super elemental resistant gear in the game, so you don't have to worry about that. But I like to see a split, but honestly, it doesn't matter. You can kind of tailor your build around it. But because we are doing PvE, the only stat we essentially really need to realize or even play against, and that is going to be physical damage. There is not a ton at all of elemental damage in the game. There are a few, and most of them come from mutators. So if we're doing just straight PvE, and we're doing, we're out gathering, we're out doing our, gen, las, dungeons, those are almost 100% all physical. So we want to stack as much physical damage as possible. You can see here on the right with the gear score stats, we have 3% basically to everything but void resistance, and that's just because my I believe it's my amulet has void resistance on it. Yep. And then we have 9% for our physical defenses, and our gear is split. So we want physical damage gems, and there's really two options you can do. So because we don't have our gear, we're gonna be upgrading it a decent amount. We don't really need to go too high in the the category for your gems, but let's just look up Onyx gems, and let's go down to cut. Now, I've looked at these already, but you can see here, this is way overpriced. Do not pay 243. I paid 175 for tier 5 diamonds, but they do give 25% damage against, 2% physical damage absorption. That's the weapon side, which we'll talk about here in a second. But so you want to either do onyxes, or we're going to do diamonds. Now, I already looked here, and there's only 2 on the market at 100 apiece. But honestly, because we're going to be upgrading our gear, I mean, that is a decent chunk, but we are just going to go over here. We're going to go to our tier 3 cut diamond. They are 30 coins a piece. We need 2 of them. We're going to buy 2. 60 coins can give us a nice little chunk of damage or defense here. So we put that there, and you can see here for each 30 coins we put in there, we're getting over 1% of physical reduction, which is really nice. It adds up, trust me. I know I never put my gems in my gear originally, but it really does add up a ton. It makes a big difference. Honestly, if you can get onyxes in here, if you're doing a lot of stone cutting and you have them laying around, the higher the onyx in here, the better. You want that damage absorption, but getting like the tier 3 will be just fine. Then when it comes to your weapons, if you don't know what to put in there, put in an opal. Opals are just whenever you basically dodge, so whenever you don't have stamina, so we're dodging and we're dodging a lot, we're going to have 9% increased damage on a tier 3. It goes all the way up to 15% damage when you get to the max. Now, I'm not advocating to put tier 5 in there. If you're going to put a tier 5 gem in your gear, that is, what I suggest doing is putting your weapons. But honestly, putting the opals in there that are the tier 3 will be just fine. 9% damage is great. It's an extra 9% damage that we're doing, and it's really good. Now, the only exceptions are a life staff. You want to put a diamond in there. That's just going to give you the extra healing when you're at high life. But if you're Warhammer or Ice Gauntlet, I really am a good component of doing something like the Malachite. The Malachite's just going to give you extra damage when the target is CC'd. And because you're a Warhammer Ice Gauntlet, you're going to CC them all the time. That's not great against bosses because a lot of bosses can't be CC'd, but it still gives you, for pretty much everything else, a nice little bonus. But honestly, I just would slap an opal into everything, because you can guarantee your proc for the opal, where some of the other weapons you can't really guarantee it. You know, the only exceptions are if you're using like something like the life staff and, let's say, hatchet, which is used to be a pretty good combo. You can use an amber in your hatchet, and that's what's gonna scale it off of focus. And the same thing if you're going like Ice Gauntlet Great Axe, but you're wanting to scale int, you can put in, you know, an int gem into your Great Axe, and it'll scale it off of intelligence. So those are the gems and how I decide. If you're gonna do PvP and really focus on PvP, you just want to mix somewhere around a 50-50 split. I always tend to lean a little bit more towards the physical reduction than the elemental, because you have, you know, most of your weapons in the game are physical, especially right now with bow being so prevalent. You have bow, muskets still now use physical. They put diamonds in their gear most of the time. And then you have, you know, Great Axe, Warhammer, hatchet, spear, versus just basically Ice Gauntlet, Ice Gauntlet, Fire Staff, and then some Void Gauntlets as well. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this quick video about putting gems in your armor. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you next time. Peace.